The dinner rush at La Meridia always began the same way. Soft jazz from hidden speakers, the hushed glide of servers across polished floors, and the quiet pulse of wealth moving through the air like an invisible current. Sophia had worked there long enough that the rhythm lived in her bones. She carried wine glasses the way dancers carried breath, without visible effort, without drawing attention. She had tied her hair back before stepping onto the floor, leaving her neck bare. There, just at the hollow beneath her throat, she dabbed a faint trace of perfume. Only a drop. The bottle was almost empty, and she could never get more. It was her grandmother's, and her grandmother had spoken of it only once, voice trembling in that strange, grave way that only matters when the speaker is closer to leaving the world than living in it. "Wear it only when you need to be seen," she had said. Sophia didn't know why she'd worn it tonight. It wasn't a special night, or at least, she hadn't thought so. The scent moved when she moved, warm amber layered over something dark and floral, something that didn't have an easy name. It smelled like memory, like old letters that had been hidden instead of discarded, like a story half told. She leaned over a table to pour wine for a couple celebrating an anniversary when the restaurant doors opened behind her. A hush moved through the room, not dramatic, barely more than a breath, but she felt it all the same. Heads turned, voices thinned. He had arrived. Adrian Moretti walked the way storms moved across horizons, with the certainty that nothing in his path would remain unchanged. Everyone in Miami knew his face. Wealthy men pretended not to recognize him. Wealthy women pretended not to stare. He was the kind of man who didn't request power. He was power. Sophia didn't look up at first. She didn't have to. His presence altered the air. He took his usual table in the far corner, the one that allowed him to face the entire room without ever needing to turn his back. His suit was black. Not expensive looking, but expensive in the way silence is expensive. Refined, precise, devastatingly intentional. The light caught in his hair when he sat, revealing strands that gleamed like dark metal. Sophia continued her service, but something inside her tightened. The perfume moved when she breathed, and then he inhaled, not dramatically, not even noticeably to anyone who wasn't looking at him. But Sophia saw it. His shoulders stilled. The fingers resting against his glass flexed once. His eyes, dark and unreadable, lifted and found her. He didn't blink. The room shifted. She felt heat rush beneath her skin, though she didn't understand why. Adrian stood. His voice, when it came, was quiet, not raised, not sharp. Everyone, out. There was no panic, no confusion, no questions. Chairs scraped softly. Napkins were folded, bills left forgotten. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The staff hesitated only a second before training took over, moving guests toward the door with apologies no one requested. Sophia remained frozen where she was. Glassware shimmered in the sudden quiet. When the last heel clicked across marble and the final whisper faded, Adrian stepped forward and pushed the door shut. The lock clicked softly, too softly for the finality of the gesture. He turned to her. Not to the room, to her. The distance between them was filled with something electric and grave. He looked at her as one might look at a ghost, not with fear, but recognition. "That perfume," he said, voice low, controlled, edged with something almost shattered. Sophia swallowed. "It was my grandmother's." The silence trembled. His gaze didn't leave hers, not even to breathe. "I know," Adrian said, and his eyes told her the truth, impossible and undeniable. He had known the woman who wore that perfume before her. He had known her very well. The silence in La Meridia felt unreal, as if the entire city had stepped outside of time. Only the sound of Sophia's breathing and the soft hum of the air vents remained. Adrian stood a few steps away from her and his, Eyes were fixed on her throat, where the last trace of the perfume rested. That scent had once lived in memories he had spent years trying to bury. Sophia tried to speak, but her voice caught before anything came out. She cleared her throat and tried. Again, I do not understand what is happening. Her words were soft but steady, like someone ready to run but refusing to. Adrian moved closer, one slow step, then another. He was careful not to touch her, careful in a way that suggested that touch was dangerous for him. Not for her. "Tell me her name," he said. And there was something inside his voice that did not match the sharp authority he carried. It sounded like a wound that never healed. "My grandmother's name was Alessia," she said the name. So, simply. But she felt the ground in her life shift when she heard it spoken aloud in this room in front of this man. Something in his expression changed, not softer but clearer, like a man finally seeing something he had been searching for in the dark. Adrian lowered his head as if steadying himself from impact. "I knew her," he said, and Sophia felt her heartbeat rise like wings trapped behind her ribs. She waited for more, but the next words were slow, hard to pull from whatever place he was reaching into. "I did not just know her. I loved her. She was the only person I ever loved." The words did not feel dramatic. They felt like truth that had been waiting for oxygen. Sophia pressed her hand against the edge of a table to steady herself. Love was not a word most people attached to Adrian Moretti. Outside these walls, people spoke of him like a storm or a threat or a man carved from glass and shadow. But love was different. Love meant he had once been human in a way the world did not believe anymore. "Why did she leave?" Sophia asked, and her voice shook, even though she did not want it to. "If you loved her, why did she run?" Adrian's jaw tightened. He looked away for the first time since speaking her grandmother's name. "She did not run from me." He said she ran from my world, from what my family demanded, from what I could not undo, from the violence that clung to my name, even when I tried to walk away from it. Sophia felt something break open in her chest. Her grandmother had never spoken of the past, only that she had survived something that took more from her than anyone ever saw. Sophia had never understood, but now she felt the shape of it like a shadow stretching across generations. Adrian lifted his gaze again. "You were never supposed to come near me. Your grandmother hid you from this life. She hid you well, but that perfume was a signal, a legacy, a key. And now the signal has been seen, and doors that were closed are opening again." Sophia stepped back. "What? Does that mean what has been opened?" Adrian did not move toward her, but his voice lowered and the weight of it settled into her bones. Someone else knew that perfume. Someone else has been waiting too, and they will come for you now. The lights above them hummed the city outside, continued breathing, but inside the restaurant, there was only the sound of fate arriving, and it had already begun to move toward her without hesitation. The night outside was warm, but inside La Meridia, the air felt heavy, as if something unseen had settled in the space between Sophia and Adrian. She felt the weight of his words gathering inside her mind, forming questions she was not prepared to voice. Someone else knew the perfume. Someone else might come. Someone, dangerous someone watching. Adrian stepped away from her, but only far enough to draw a breath that sounded like memory and regret. Sophia watched him closely, realizing that his body did not move like other men. He was too controlled, too precise, as if he had taught himself not to flinch, even when the world around him threatened to shatter. "You are not safe here." He said the tone was not demanding, but factual, like weather, like gravity. "There are people who have been waiting to find a trace of her. Your grandmother kept you hidden, but now the scent is out in the open. They will notice it, and once they notice you, they will not stop." Sophia's throat tightened. "Who are they? What do they want from me?" Adrian looked at her, and there was something in his gaze that did not belong to the rumors people whispered about him. Not coldness, not cruelty, but something like grief. The Rinaldi family. He said a name that sounded like a threat, even without explanation. They were the reason she left. They wanted to claim her. They believed she belonged to them because they believed I belonged to them. Sophia felt the world tilt, belonged not, loved, not worked with, belonged as if his entire life had been a chain made from loyalty and fear, twisted into something that could not break without drawing blood. The Rinaldis will hear that the scent has resurfaced. He continued. The perfume was made for one woman, and that woman disappeared. If they learn that her bloodline survived, they will assume you are something they can use, something they can trade, something they can take. The words sank in. Slowly, heavy, defining. Sophia did not know how to breathe around them. Her grandmother had loved her, had raised her with gentleness, but Sophia understood. Suddenly, that gentleness had been armor, a shield meant to disguise a history made of danger. Why now, she whispered. Why did you recognize it? Why not years ago? Why tonight? Adrian took a step toward her. The distance between them felt like the edge of a cliff. Because I stopped looking, he said, because when she left, I learned what it meant to lose something you cannot replace. I believed she died. I believed there was nothing left of her in this world until you walked past me carrying her scent, like a memory. I was never allowed to keep. Sophia felt her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The perfume, the inheritance. The truth she had never asked to learn had chosen her all the same. The restaurant lights flickered. Once a sound echoed from the street, a car door, footsteps too many. Adrian's head turned sharply. His expression changed, hardening like steel, cooling underwater. They're here already, he said. And before Sophia could speak, before she could even understand the full shape of what was happening, Adrian reached for her hand, not with romance, not with hesitation, but with the absolute certainty of someone who had decided that losing her was not an option. Stay close to me. The restaurant doors shook from the outside. Shadows waited beyond the glass. The world she knew was gone, and the world she had never imagined was arriving to claim her. The pounding on the restaurant door did not sound human. It sounded like inevitability, like something that had found them and would not be persuaded to leave. Adrian did not raise his voice. He did not rush. He simply looked at Sophia, and something in his eyes said that her entire life was about to break open. Not gently, not gracefully, but with the force of truth and danger colliding. Follow me. He moved toward the back hallway where the kitchen was hidden behind the dining room. Sophia stayed close, her pulse hammering in her throat. She could hear muffled voices outside now, low male too calm to be strangers, caught in the wrong place they were waiting for. Permission to enter. Permission that would come soon if Adrian did nothing. The kitchen was empty. Pans still warm, knives still laid out on clean cutting boards. Someone had left in a hurry. Someone who had seen Adrian's face and understood the word, leave, without needing to hear it. Twice, Adrian reached for a panel beside the wine cellar door. Not a handle, not a knob. A pressure switch hidden inside the wall. The door slid open to reveal a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Sophia hesitated. Not because she doubted him, but because the world above the stairs was the only world she had ever known. If she went down those steps, she would not get her old life back. Not ever. Adrian turned to look at her. His voice was quiet. No force. No command. Just truth. I can keep you safe, but only if you trust me now. There was no time to think. The pounding had stopped, which was somehow worse than the sound itself. Silence meant they had begun another plan. A faster one. A more violent one. Sophia stepped into the stairwell. Adrian followed the door closed above them, sealing them in darkness. The smell of earth and stone and old wood wrapped around them. The stairs led deeper than any restaurant basement should extend. This was not storage. This was escape. When they reached the bottom, a single light flickered above a metal door. Adrian placed his hand on Sophia's back, guiding her forward with a steadiness that did not shake even now, even facing enemies, even facing past ghosts. His touch was careful, as if she was something fragile. Not weak, but precious. The door opened into a private garage concealed beneath the street. A single black car waited, engine running. The driver wore no expression, only purpose. Sophia turned to Adrian. Her voice was thin, but steady. "Tell me why they want me. Not later. Not when it is convenient." Now Adrian did not look away, because you are the last piece they lost. Your grandmother took something from them when she left. Not money, not power. Something far more dangerous. What a name, a bloodline. A rightful claim to leadership. Something that could shift everything in their world. And then softly, "You, Sophia, you are that claim." The engine rumbled. The air felt like the moment before a storm breaks her old life, flickered behind her. Small, distant, already gone, Sophia got into the car. Adrian sat beside her. The doors locked automatically. Above them, behind sealed concrete shadows, moved through La Meridia. Searching too late, the car pulled forward and disappeared into the night, carrying her toward a truth she had no map, for no training, for no choice but to face. The world no longer waited to come for her. It was already here, and she was in the center of it now. The car cut through the night, and the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and shadow. Sophia watched them pass, but her mind was still in the restaurant where her life had shifted. Without warning, Adrian sat beside her. Silent, not stiff, but focused, as if every movement outside the window mattered. The driver spoke for the first time since she entered. "Sir," they followed. "They are keeping distance, waiting for open ground." Adrian did not react with fear. Only calculation. They will not engage in public. He said they want her alive if they wanted. Her gone, the doors would have come down already. Sophia felt that word alive settle into her chest in a way that felt colder than death. A prize, a possession, a legacy. Not a person. She turned to Adrian, and there was no softness in her voice. "This time you said they want to use me. Tell me why I matter to them." Adrian looked at her, and even though the moment was tense, his gaze did not carry the sharpness of command. Only truth. The Rinaldi family has been without a legitimate heir. For years their power has been slipping. Your grandmother was meant to marry into them long before she met me. And when she refused, they lost not just her, but a future. A claim and anchor to the alliances that keep them in control. So when she disappeared, they believed someone helped her. Someone stole her future from them. And they were right. Sophia understood now. Her grandmother had not simply loved a man. She had chosen him against an empire. And that empire had never forgiven it. The car turned off the main highway through an iron gate, down a long private road surrounded by trees, dense enough to block sound and sight. A house appeared at the end, or rather something more than a house. Stone. Iron-high walls, security woven into architecture. A fortress disguised as quiet luxury when they stepped inside. Sophia heard the echo of her footsteps across marble and open space. The house was beautiful, but empty, as if it had been built to be lived in by ghosts rather than people. Adrian led her into a room lit by low lamps and soft shadows. He stood across from her, and for the first time she noticed the faintest tremor in his hands. Not fear, memory. "Your grandmother was going to run away with me," he said. "We planned to leave everything. I had arranged passports, a small place on the coast where no names mattered. We were one day away, and then she was gone without a note, without a goodbye. And for years, I believed she chose to abandon me until now." Sophia felt her chest tighten so. She never chose to leave someone forced. Her Adrian nodded once the Rinaldis sent a message. "Leave him or we will take the child." "You carry your life" was the cost of her silence. Your grandmother chose to protect you. Sophia's breath broke. Her grandmother had carried a threat instead of happiness, a secret instead of love, and she had done it to keep her safe. The door to the room suddenly clicked from the outside. Not open, locked. The driver's voice came faintly from the hallway. They found us. They are already here. Adrian turned to Sophia, and for the first time his voice held no restraint, only raw urgency. Stay behind me. Shadows moved beyond the hallway. The past had arrived to collect its debt, and Sophia was no longer a hidden name in a family story. She was the reason the war was beginning again. The sound in the hallway did not come like footsteps. It came like pressure. The kind of pressure that arrives before doors break and lives divide into before and after. Sophia could feel it in her ribs and her spine, her body recognizing danger before her mind could catch up. Adrian moved in front of her without hesitation, not like a shield, but like a decision. He had chosen his place in this moment, and there was no part of him that questioned it. The driver's voice returned low. Urgent controlled 2 men at the west entrance, 1 at the gate. No breach yet, but they are not here to negotiate. Adrian did not look away from Sophia. His voice was steady. You will go to the atrium. There's a staircase hidden behind the mirrored wall. Do not speak to anyone until I come for you. Do not open the door for any voice that sounds like mine. Not unless you see me with your own eyes. Sophia's throat tightened. If they want me alive, you are in more danger than I am. Adrian's expression did not change. It was the stillness of someone who had already accepted the cost of the path. He walked. Danger is not new to me, losing something I cannot replace. She turned, but she reached. Out her hand touched his wrist. Warm skin under her fingers. The contact froze both of them in place. The moment was not romantic. It was recognition. 2 lives colliding in a truth that did not need words. If you die, she said, I will not survive this. Either his eyes closed for 1 breath, 1 heartbeat, 1 silent admission. I know. The driver opened a concealed panel in the wall, and Sophia slipped behind it. The mirrored wall sealed behind her, shutting her into dim light and quiet. But quiet did not mean calm. Quiet meant waiting. Quiet meant listening through the wall. Sophia could hear movement, not shouting, not chaos, but the smooth, coordinated motions of men who had done this before. Men who believed they had already won. The house remained eerily calm. No alarms, no raised voices. As if violence here was not surprising. As if the walls themselves had seen this dozens of times, and did not bother reacting anymore. Sophia descended the hidden staircase. Her breath shallow, her pulse sharp and fast. She reached the small safe room Adrian had described. There were no windows, only a long glass case at the center of the room. Inside, the case was a necklace, a single drop of dark amber, suspended in crystal. The perfume, the original, the scent that belonged to her grandmother. The scent that had changed everything. She stepped closer and saw something carved into the metal framing the pendant. A name, a date. A vow when she understood something sudden and devastating. Her grandmother had not. Left alone, she had left heartbroken. Carrying a love that tore her life into pieces. Carrying a child who was never supposed to survive. Sophia placed her hand on the glass. Her pulse steadying the fear did not vanish. But something else rose to meet it. Something sharper than fear, stronger than shock. Blood remembering blood. Above her the house shook. A door slammed. Voices cut the air. One of them was Adrian's voice, not loud, not frantic. A command that sounded like steel shaping itself into a blade. Sophia did not hide. She did not collapse. She did not wait to be rescued. She stood up straight. The perfume case beside her like a witness if they believed she was something to claim. They had underestimated her grandmother. They had underestimated her. and they were about to underestimate. Her tooth walls above Sophia seemed to vibrate with movement and impact, shadows shifting bodies crossing hallways, voices speaking in low, urgent tones. But no one came down the hidden staircase. No one called her name. No one tried to force the door. It was strange, too. Quiet, too controlled. As if the men in the house were not here to abduct her, but to shape the moment around her, to force her into stepping out on her own. Sophia understood something. Then they did not want to drag her out. Like a hostage, they wanted her to walk out willingly. They wanted her to believe she had no other choice. He looked down at the pendant inside the glass case again. The amber drop caught the dim light and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, like memory, like inheritance calling her by name. Her grandmother had worn this scent when she had walked into Adrian's arms, when she had defied an empire, when she had carried Sophia into hidden life. The scent was not perfume, it was identity. Sophia moved to the case, and the glass lifted easier than she expected. No lock, no resistance, as if someone had always intended for this moment to find her, as if she had always been meant to open it. When she touched the necklace, the scent rose softly around her, the same warm amber layered with something wild and aching, and it felt like being seen by someone who no longer existed and yet still lived in her body. Her blood. Her breath tears pressed behind her eyes, but she did not let them fall. Footsteps echoed, just outside the hidden room. Slow measured, not running, not searching. Waiting. Sophia closed her hand around the pendant and stepped toward the door. She did not hide. She did not tremble. She opened it. The hallway beyond was lit only by the faint light. Spilling from sconces, standing at the top of the stairs, was a man she had never seen before, but she knew him instantly. Not from memory, but from resemblance. From the shadow of Adrian in the set of his jaw, from the echo of her grandmother's choices, in the way he looked at her. The man did not draw a weapon. He did not raise his voice. He simply watched her descend each step, deliberate, as if he had been waiting for her for years. "So you are the girl he risked everything for." He said his tone was not mocking, not cruel, but threaded with something old and unfinished. Sophia did not ask who he was. She already knew. "You are Raphael, Adrian's brother." The man smiled faintly, a smile that did not touch his eyes. "I am the future the world expected, and you are the future. It has been denied." His gaze dropped to the pendant in her hand, and then he lifted his eyes again. Sharper now, hungrier. "You are the key to everything that belongs to us. Our name, our alliances, our crown. You can return what was taken and end this war before it begins." Sophia felt the truth in his words and the trap inside them, but she did not back away. She did not lower her gaze. The scent of the perfume moved with her breath, steady, unafraid. "I am not something to be claimed," she said. "I am not a bargaining piece. I am not your heir. I choose my life. I choose where I stand." Raphael's expression flickered, not surprise but disappointment, as if he had hoped she would be easier to mold, easier to break. He stepped forward. But before he could speak, another voice cut through the hallway, a voice that held command like thunder holds lightning. "She does not stand with you." Adrian appeared at the end of the corridor, blood on his shirt. Not his own eyes, burning with something that was not rage but certainty. And for the first time since the night began, Sophia understood she was not being protected. She was being chosen, and that choice was about to start a war. No one could stop. The hallway felt like the center of the world. 3 lives drawn into a single moment that had been forming for decades. Sophia could feel the past pressing in from all sides. Old promises, broken futures, love that had been forced to become memory. And now that memory had a pulse again. Hers Raphael did not turn. When Adrian spoke, he did not flinch. He simply breathed out a slow, tired exhale, as if this confrontation had been waiting so long it no longer carried surprises. "Oh, it ends here after all." Raphael said. His voice was calm. the way deep oceans are calm right before they pull something under. You could have avoided this if you had let her live a small life. Unknown, unseen, forgotten. Like her grandmother tried to. Adrian moved forward one step. The distance between them, closing like a blade, sliding into place. She was never meant to be forgotten. You wanted her erased, I wanted her safe. Those are not the same thing, and they never were. Raphael's eyes finally shifted to him, and something like grief passed through them. Not for love, but for history for the moment. Two brothers stopped being brothers. You were the one who broke the rules. Adrian, she was promised to us. When you took her grandmother, you declared war on blood, on legacy, on the order that keeps this world from burning. Itself too. Asha Sophia's heart thudded at the word promised. Her grandmother had not simply defied love. She had defied ownership. She had defied being taken. She stepped forward. Her voice was steady. My grandmother was not something to own. And I am not either. You can say the word legacy all you want. But what you mean is... Possession. Raphael looked at her, then really looked. And for the first time, something inside his expression cracked. Not sympathy. Recognition. She had her grandmother's fire, the same fire that had once changed the direction of his entire life. I see, he whispered. So, this is why she ran. This is why she... Adrian positioned himself slightly in front of Sophia, not blocking her standing with her. And that difference was everything. There is no negotiating. Now Raphael said nothing. We say. Change is what happens next. The families will choose sides. Alliances will shift the city. We'll bleed until one of us is gone. You know this. I do, Adrian answered, and yet you still choose. Her Adrian did not look away. I never stopped. The silence after that was not quiet. It was full. It carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths. Raphael stepped back one pace, his face settling into something colder, sharper, inevitable. Then the world will watch us fall apart, and they will choose who they kneel to when the smoke clears. He turned and walked away without rushing, without fear, without need to look back. Because the threat was not now. The threat was tomorrow and every day after. As soon as his footsteps faded, Adrian exhaled a breath that sounded like someone setting down a sword they had carried too long. You understand now, he said quietly to Sophia. This is not about love or hatred, or even family. This is about a throne built from old blood they believe you belong to. Sophia looked down at the pendant in her hand, the scent surrounding her like ghost arms. And she realized something. They were not fighting over her future. They were fighting over her past, her inheritance, her name. She lifted her chin. Her voice did not shake. Then we will choose our own throne, not theirs. Adrian's gaze held hers, the faintest flicker of something almost like hope. And how do you plan to do that? Sophia did not answer with words she put. The necklace on let the perfume mark her claim. Her announce her. If they wanted a queen, she would show them one. They could never control. The house was quiet again, but not with peace. Quiet like held breath. Quiet like the pause before lightning touches. The ground. Adrian stood in front of Sophia, her necklace now resting against her skin. The scent filling the air like a signal, a declaration, a beginning. Everything changes now, he said, and his voice was lower than before. Not from fear, from certainty. Sophia did not look away. She had entered this world by accident, but she was not standing in it by accident anymore. Tell me what comes next, she said. Adrian nodded. Once there will be a summit tomorrow night. Leaders from every major family will be there to discuss the shifting alliances in the city. The Rinaldi will present their claim to power. Raphael will present you as proof of bloodline, proof that they are the rightful heirs to the empire. Sophia's breath caught. They will use me as evidence, as identity, as leverage. Adrian's eyes were steady on hers. Yes, unless you stand with me first." The words hung between them, heavy as fate, sharp as choice. "You want me to walk into their world?" Sophia said. "You want them to see me, to acknowledge me, to claim me as something chosen, not taken." Adrian did not step closer, but his presence felt nearer. "I am asking you to stand beside me, not behind me. Your grandmother was forced to run, to hide, to erase her past, to protect you. I am not asking you to disappear. I am asking you to be seen." Sophia's heartbeat echoed against her ribs. Loud alive, the summit would be dangerous. The families would not welcome her. Her existence was a threat, a fracture line. The possibility of a new ruler where an old one had not yet died, but running had never saved her grandmother. Running had only prolonged the day. Destiny would return. Sophia took a slow breath. The perfume scent lifted with it. "Warm, fearless, unbroken, I will go," she said. The words changed the room. The air felt different, deeper charged. Adrian's gaze held something new, not relief, not triumph, something quieter, something that felt like respect. "You do not understand what this will cost," he said softly. "Once you step into that room, you can never return to the life you had." Sophia lifted her head. "That life is already gone. I just have to decide what replaces it." Adrian closed his eyes for a brief moment, not because he doubted her, but because something inside him loosened, something that had been locked away since the night her grandmother disappeared. The driver returned. "There is movement in the city. Sir, word is spreading the Rinaldi will be at the summit, and they will not come alone." Adrian nodded. We expected that. He looked at Sophia, truly looked as if seeing not who she had been, but who she was becoming. "You must rest," he said. "You will need your mind clear for what is coming." But Sophia did not move toward rest. She moved closer to the window where the city glowed in the distance, lights like scattered embers waiting to ignite. She pressed her palm to the glass. Her reflection had changed. Eyes sharper, shoulders squared. A woman no longer hidden, she whispered to herself, to her grandmother, to the blood that lived inside her. "I will not run. I will not be taken. I choose my name." The perfume rose like a vow, and the night beyond the glass answered back. The summit was held in an abandoned opera house, a place built for beauty, now used for power. The chandeliers hung like frozen constellations above the gathered families. Long tables, dark suits, whispers sharp as knives. Sophia entered with Adrian beside her. No hesitation, no flinch, only the perfume marking her like a crown. No one could remove. Every head turned, every conversation stopped. The scent reached them before her footsteps did. Recognition moved like a ripple through the room. Raphael stood at the center waiting, prepared, believing the night belonged to him. He raised a hand to speak, but Sophia stepped forward. First, her voice carried across the room without needing to be raised. "I am Sophia Rivera, granddaughter of Alessia." The room stilled tighter, eyes widened. Old memories rose from graves. "They were never meant to climb out of," she continued. "My grandmother did not run because she was weak. She ran because you tried to claim her as belonging instead of equal. And you hunted her until the day she died because you wanted control. Not family." Raphael's jaw tightened, but he did not interrupt. The silence around him was too heavy. Too watching. Adrian stepped back, giving Sophia the space to speak her truth. Not protecting standing with her. Sophia lifted the pendant, so all could see it. The amber stone glowed under the chandelier light. Warm, alive, my grandmother left something behind. Not just me. She left proof. She opened a small envelope she had taken from the safe room. Old paper, a seal broken decades too late. Inside was a signed declaration written by the former head of the Rinaldi family himself. The words were clear, unmistakable. Alessia was never promised. She was heir by blood, by name, by right. Murmur rose through the room like thunder preparing to break. Sophia's voice held steady. "Which means I am not something to be claimed by Rinaldi or Moretti. I am not inheritance to pass from hand to hand. I am the successor of the line that both families were built from, and the war you are preparing. To start will end before it begins, because power is not yours to take it, has already chosen. Raphael's face changed. Then not rage, not shock, but realization. The fight he had shaped his life for was already lost. You think they will follow you, he said quietly. A test. A challenge. A final attempt. Sophia stepped closer. No fear in her stance, they will follow the one who does not need to own them to lead them. No one spoke. No one moved, and then one by one heads bowed. Not to Adrian, not to Raphael, to Herr. Raphael lowered his gaze, last not submitting but accepting a man who understood the weight of inevitability. The summit ended without a gun raised. When they walked out into the night, Sophia finally exhaled. Her hand trembled only then, only once. Adrian reached for it not to steady her, but to join her. You changed everything, he said. She looked at him, and her voice was soft but sure. So did you, when you did not let the world decide what I was worth. The city lights spread before them, no longer a battlefield, but something waiting to be rebuilt. Her grandmother's scent lingered on the air. Not a memory, but a beginning. The story that once ended in hiding would now continue in the open, written by Sophia's own hand, without fear, without permission, without apology. She had not been found, she had arrived.